All right, assuming that no one objects to recording, so the recording is now in progress. All right, then let me share the screen. All right, hopefully everyone should be able to see my screen that is being shared in full. So we
Stephen,
have,
it's really tiny for us. You're going to need to
oh,
zoom
really
in a few
tiny.
times.
Okay. All right, let me make it bigger. Oh, hang on, too big.
That's good.
All
Okay,
right, is
that's
that good?
also okay. A little bit small, but I can make out shapes.
Oh, okay. I mean, if I go to
I
that big,
assume you're
is
on a
it,
widescreen.
huh? Yeah, I am.
Mhm.
Um,
That's good for
that's
me.
okay. Is everyone okay with that? I've put
That's
it
right.
up to, I think, 5 orders of enlargement. So if I do another one, then do you prefer this
fine.
one or are we okay with that one?
That's all right.
Okay. All right.
Like
Okay. So
my
we have,
optometrist, Stephen. This or
sorry, I
not
beg your
that.
pardon.
You like my optometrist? This or this?
All right. Okay. So that's sort of like the agenda on the screen. So if I scroll a little bit further, so we can see that there are 13 items sort of on the agenda for today. But first order of business, let's go to the meeting minutes of the last meeting. So we have, I saw an email communicating to the work group members that this meeting minute was available for members review. I will slowly scroll down the meeting minutes. Is there any issue that we need to make adjustment, meaning edits, changes, deletions, additions to this meeting minutes? All right, I haven't heard any, so therefore I'm entertaining a motion to approve this minutes. And a second, can I have a mover, please?
Danielle, on motion.
Thank you, Danielle. Anyone who are kind enough to second the motion?
David McKillop.
Thank you, David. All right. Do we want to launch a poll on that, or are we happy to sort of do verbal vote counts, Daniel?
I'm happy to do verbal vote counts.
Yep. All right. If we are happy to do verbal vote counts, so
Except, hang on, we need to manage the Siro voters first because we have a preponderance of influence, I think. Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, got a few.
So for voters, can we have, I guess, only 2 Siro peeps vote? Maybe the 2 Michaels. I know you said you didn't have to vote in the chat, Michael, but this just makes it easier. The 2 Michaels vote, eh?
Does it make it easier or harder? Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Michael and Michael
Yeah.
are our
that's
designated
fine.
voters.
I'm
I just
happy.
vote opposite to the other Michael.
okay.
All right.
All good. Then in that case, then let me call to questions. Oh, hang on. We also have Ruben signing in as well. Ruben, are you putting your agency hat on, or are you putting HL7AU board member hat on?
Depends what's needed, but probably HL7 Australia.
Now we are talking at this moment in time voting for the approval of the meeting minutes.
Right.
All right, you want to be
HL7 is
HL7AU?
fine.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. All right, so therefore, let's call to the questions. Does anyone want to abstain? Does anyone want to oppose? All right, with that out of the way,
Can we
then
work out a number? Can we work out a number that I'm using? For the
yeah, the
total
number
votes?
is we have
Yeah.
two CSIRO members, one
Yep.
agency member, one HL7 AU, sorry, two HL7 AU member, and also one Microsoft, sorry, Telstra Health. All good?
And me. And me as well. So
Well,
hang
I
on.
counted you as HL7 AU as well. We have two HL7 AU.
All right. Good.
All right. So we have two
So
CSIRO, two HL7 AU, all right, one agency and one Telstra Health. So all six in total in
Cool.
favor. All good?
thank you. Thanks, Dave.
All right, cool. All right. Okay, with that out of the way, let's go back to the agenda, draft agenda. Does anyone wants to reorder the agenda because you need to leave early? Or does anyone wants to amend the order, amend the agenda because you want to have new items added to, or you want some of the items to be pulled to the next meeting?
If we have time at the end, I might forecast some potential changes that are out of the recent AU patient summary call that will be looked to be added to AU base, noting those are going to be a future release, right? So let's not take up time for any kind of current content.
Okay. So let's leave it to other business towards the end if we have time. Okay, right, let's go through the agenda. Given that this is quite a busy agenda, although I do not anticipate a lot of debate over most of the agendas, let's sort of start cracking. Number two, HL7 AU ballot reconciliation status update. Brett, are you taking on this one?
Yeah, you can hit the link there.
You want me to click on the link?
Yeah, please. Thank
Alright.
you. So we are well progressed. Oh, sorry, you'll have to hit the current cycle ballot reconciliation
Hang
top
on.
link there. Oh no, go back. You're fine. So just
This
the
one?
first link on that page. Yeah, just the first link.
Oh,
there.
I haven't updated the image.
Yeah, the image is
Sorry.
not updated. That's fine.
So where do you want
the
me to click?
first? Yeah,
Well,
just
it
the
says
first. The
Oh, the
AU
first one.
base
point.
August, yeah, that one.
Right, okay,
perfect.
cool.
Cool. So, yeah, to summarize, the image needs updating, but we've basically reconciled all but the three issues. So that's the outstanding, some outstanding terminology issues that we're going back to e-requesting. So they are scheduled for next meeting. Other than that, we have completed our ballot reconciliation. So yeah, we don't expect any further items. And yeah, we are going through and changes are being applied now. So some are and some aren't. But on that page, if you do go for a look, you can see the three tickets there in votes coming up at the bottom there. So they're the three outstanding ones. They're all related to the same code system. And we've got our completed votes list there in the expander underneath there. Yeah. So they're all the things we've done, including some retractions and other things. And in the bottom section are changes. So we were resolved to make changes, and you'll see some have been applied and some are still getting worked through. So that's where we are at the moment. So very close to done.
It's so very annoying to find the unmute button when I'm in this frame. Anyway, okay, cool. All right, anyone who has any questions about the August ballot that you want to raise for discussions, or you want to ask Brett about it? All right, I'm not hearing any questions or any expressions of comments. So let's move on to the next item, which is, hang on, final carryover issues scheduled for the next meeting. Do you want me to click on that one to have a look,
Yeah.
Brett?
I mean, that
Okay.
was as mentioned in that review there. So we those are they were requested to be pushed out to these next meeting, so they're queued up
Yep.
ready to
So that's item number 4, is that
resolve.
correct?
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
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 All
The
right.
e-requesting dependencies being addressed in e-requesting TDG tomorrow.
Cool. So we'll know. Yep.
All right. Okay. That being settled. All right. Number 4, ballot publication planning. Is this one on you, Brett, or is it this one for
I guess so.
Daniel?
Probably a combo.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I think the
Go ahead.
plan is to publish on, so just confirming, the plan is to publish on basically January kind of 29. It's a very specific date, but that is the actual plan. We got a FHIR Work Group the day before, on the 28th, which is where we're going to look to have their publication kind of approval, going through our usual process of where there's like a publication branch, running through that, making sure we all accept the QA, any warnings and errors not yet accepted, and making sure that, you know, we meet all the requirements around having our, well, in this case for base, it's not a variance statement issue, is there? But yeah, just making sure all those requirements are met. We'll run through it, and then if all of that's accepted, the aim is to publish the next day on January 29th. So that, I mean, obviously we do need to come back and make sure that we are meeting in January to make sure that we are publishing then, but it can be left to January 28th. I don't know if we've actually had a call on confirming whether when we're meeting. Hang on, let me go back. Is it actually January the 28th, or am I just hallucinating that because I've been playing too much with ChatGPT? No,
Just,
I think you're
28th
right. Yeah.
of January. That
Yeah.
is the call. Our first call back is the 14th, but that's too early, I think, for us to have a publication
Yeah.
branch ready.
And also, I want to mention that that week falls on to the HL7 international virtual work group meeting, and I will be doing some night shifts and probably won't be able to sort of attend the work group meetings, FHIR work group meetings, or AU meetings that week.
So the plan is to get everything in, obviously, and then move forwards. Because we do, I think it's unlikely, but we do have some more complex changes that were proposed that have dependencies on other things. So I suppose if we do need to highlight that something might need to push to the next release, that might be something that we would bring up in the earlier January meeting. I don't think that's an issue yet, but we would have to forecast that and talk it through. I think that's all I really want to say about publication, is saying we're still planning to do that. Those are the dates.
Okay, thank you, Danielle. Brett, do you have any additional or supplementary information to give to the members?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so. So I think that's the plan. So we'll
All right.
work around
All
that.
good then. Thank you both. All right. Then item number 5, AU Patient Summary AFMM1 endorsement. I will.
Yep. So this is me. That's postponed. So I had to add a note.
Okay, right.
We had a riveting set of discussions on No Known X, which consumed all our airtime, and we didn't get to do AFMM1. So we've had to postpone that on the AU Core TDG side, and that means we need to push this one to the 3rd of December meeting. So that's the next FHIR Work Group meeting after the call in the AU Core TDG to agree on going to AFMM1. No surprises in any of the content, so I'm not worried about it, but because we haven't gone through that process, we can't look for endorsement now.
Okay, sounds good. All right.
So
Then
this,
we are dealt with
yep.
by number 5 and number 6. AU Patient Summary variance statement. Yep. I
Dusha,
am
did you
calling
want to
up the
speak to
page.
this? I'm not actually sure. I don't think we're really doing much because I think we've actually shown this to the FHIR Work Group before, and I don't think it's changed.
No, it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed, and we have shown it to FHIR Work Group before, yes.
I think I've got, so part of obviously what we're doing in patient summary is obviously we're using base and core, and then there's IPS. So while it's not a requirement, we've popped in a variance from IPS section. I mean, we've got a much more complex section talking about localization of IPS and so forth. But I guess I wanted to ask this group, what do people think about having the variance from IPS statement on this page? Any objections to it? Do you want us to take it out, or should we just leave it there at least until ballot for working standard? Which is my preference.
I actually like it because it is an important thing to consider for this spec. So, and I don't think, I mean, you would probably want to include it somewhere, but I think it is a variance kind of statement. So, sure. Additionally to the requirements that we have already.
All right. Anyone else has a view or a different view?
Same view.
Sorry, David, did you say something? I can't catch.
Oh, I got the same view as Brett.
Okay, thank you, David. Anyone else want
I'm
to?
comfortable with it being left on there.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Melvin. All right. So I think we have heard reps from each group saying that they are comfortable leaving this there. So I think that we consider that as endorse.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
don't-
to confirm, obviously, AU patient summary as intentional is compliant
Yep.
to IPS and core, and that is still true. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Number 7. That's
Awesome.
under your name, Danielle. Do
Yeah,
you
can
want
you
to
click on the
display or
link?
do you want me
That'll
to?
open a PDF. It's really
That
just
one?
1.5
Yep.
pages, and I think you
Okay.
can keep driving.
Oh,
So
you
NIB,
know what? It has actually downloaded from there, and then I need to. Okay, let me bring up the document. All right, it is in here.
cool. So in terms of notice of intent to ballot, I can confirm we are proceeding on the, I guess, originally advertised timeframe of first quarter of 2026. We want to go to ballot for working standard. So that's what we're submitting that notice of intent to ballot. We'd usually do this a bit later, but I guess referring
Is
to
that big?
previous conversations where
Sorry,
HL7AU.
sorry to interject, Daniel.
Yeah.
Is that big enough to see?
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay, cool. Right.
Yeah. In support of some of the previous conversations and advice from the HL7AU publication manager, that because it's in the first quarter, there's an intent to have the ballot sign up period actually start in December this year, and to do all this properly, we need a notice of intent to ballot. So we've advanced this. I mean, we meet the criteria to submit anyway. We just typically wouldn't do it this early. But so here it is. We've got the project title, which matches the project title, the proposed ballot name, which that follows the convention. But Brett, if that needs to change, are there any issues with the format I've used?
I do not think so. I think that's fine.
Cool. Ballot type is working standard. We've done the ballot for comment now. The target, as I said, is Q1 2026, which we understand is the ballot period opening in February and closing in March. Of course, FHIR Work Group is the oh, I need to change that.
Is that
The order of the fields is usually governing group first, and so I just filled that out as FHIR Work Group, then AU Core TDG, but I need to swap those around because obviously the responsible group is the AU Core TDG and the governing one is FHIR Work Group. Apologies. With that amendment, I'll fix that. I'm the contact. In terms of prerequisites, yes, ballot reconciliation will be complete. We've basically got one issue remaining that's in an e-vote that is editorial that closes in a couple of days. So I'm confident that by the time we go to ballot reconciliation, that will be complete. We've just seen our variance statement. AFMEM 1 is intended at time of ballot. I've got the adjusted meetings where that's going to be talked through. Obviously, the intention was previous week and this week, but they're on the agenda now for November 28th to go through that. And then come for endorsement on that 3rd of December call for the FHIR Work Group. And backwards compatibility is obviously not applicable because this is the first release. I think that's everything in the form, but do you want to just scroll down, double check, Steve?
No, that's all. Yep.
Okay. So that's the notice of intent to ballot. Any questions about that? Okay.
All right. If there's no further questions,
was just
with the
gonna add
proviso.
something.
Sorry, Brett.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah, I was just going to add, just to note, and it's useful for other attendees probably. Yeah, we are bringing the sign-up period earlier, and I have to officially notify the co-chairs, all co-chairs of that. So we're going to make it a 2-month sign-up period. Since it's in the December-January period, and we lose a lot of bodies and opportunities to promote that. So yeah, that's kind of brings forward the need to get the notice of intent to ballot done before that opens in December. So, and just to note, notice of intent to ballot is not, you don't need to go through with the ballot. It's really for us to be able to actually list the correct what we expect to go to ballot in that period, and it's actually fine to withdraw if you don't need to actually go to ballot. So yeah, so it's mainly to help us prepare to take sign-ups for the ballot itself, but you do have some time then, I guess, to meet all the criteria you need to actually publish. Yep, that's about all.
So I'd like to
So-
motion approval of the notice of intent to ballot for AUPSL1 for ballot for working standard.
Yep, with the preconditions that there are a couple of editorial changes swapping the primary responsible group and the governance subcommittee around.
Yes, that's
Yep.
right.
All right.
Seconded.
Okay. Sorry.
Seconded by Marvin.
Okay, Marvin, thank you. Now I get you. So I have a motion on the table that which being second. So I think this one we do need to call launch a formal e-vote, so therefore we can capture sort of the details. So can either Daniel or Dushi or Brett help launch the vote?
I think Brett has to launch as host.
Okay. Thank you, Brett.
Hopefully that has worked.
All right, can we please start with the voting? All right, it seems that we have reached let me put this one up for sharing. We have reached the all affirmative, given that we have 6 or 7 designated voters. We have 7 designated voters. So we have 100% endorsement with 0 negative, 0 abstain. So the motion carried. All right.
Great.
Okay. All right, with that one done. All right, so next item we have 3 PSS and Zun Ma, are you? I saw your name popping in. Are you ready to display?
Oh yes, I am.
All right, I will stop staring, and then you can take the.
I would appreciate if you can just put these documents on your screen.
Okay,
That's okay.
that's fine then. All right, I will start the sharing again, and all right, I will launch the document.
Okay, thank you very much. Morning, everyone. I'm Shin from the Spark Tooling and Infrastructure team. A nervous first-timer to the work group meeting. So today I would like to present the project scope statement for the Inferno testing framework R2 for AU Core and Inferno testing framework for AU Patient Summary and the test data project R2 for the review and approval from the working group. So the AU Core test kit and the test data project, they are updates to existing projects. So we would not need a proposal. And the patient summary test kit, the proposal has already been approved earlier. It will only be the scope statement today.
All right, so can you let me know when you want me to progress the screen?
Can we just scroll down to the next page, please?
Yeah, you just let me know when you want me to go down the next page.
So no, that's the next document. Can we go back to the previous document and just scroll
let's
down
go to the previous document.
bit.
Yep, sorry. Yep, that's it.
Yep. So we have seen a very good community engagement for the AU Core R1 test case, especially for the supporting of all the tests and test coverage during connections and test event. So for the R2, we are going to continuing the support of AU Core into R2, and we'll be addressing new and modified certification requirements. And there's, if we can scroll down a little bit more to the second page of this document. So this will be very similar to what we had in R1, but one change I'd like to point out is the joint copyright is now declared as yes, because this is developed based on the Inferno International, which is APACH 2.0 agreement. So that goes into our license as well. Yep, that's all for the AU Core scope statement. Do you have any questions?
All right, I'll move up to that main page to see whether or not anyone want also to have another look at it. All right, given that summary presentation and the date and the information on the screen, does anyone else has any questions or comments? All right, if not, then I am happy to entertain a motion. Soon, do you want to move to the acceptance for the acceptance of this PSS?
Yes, please.
All right, okay, soon I moved to accept this PSS. Can I have a seconder?
Brett here, I'll second.
All right, Brett, thank you. All right, okay, any further discussions or questions? All right, hearing none. Brett, can you please launch the e-vote, please? Thank you. All right, the e-vote is up. All right, I think, is there any verbal vote? Brett, are you a verbal vote?
Yeah, I'm in the chat, plus
Okay.
one affirmative.
All right. Okay, in that case, then we have 6 affirmative and 1 abstain. So that makes up the 7 numbers. So motion carried. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Can we proceed to the next document?
Yep, will do.
And next page, please. Thank you. So this is similar to the AU Core R2. We've had success in the community with the Inferno test kit. So this is for the Inferno test kit for Patient Summary, which is just testing server against Patient Summary FHIR. That's pretty much it, because they are very similar. So do we have any questions?
All right, so that's the second TSS back up again here. Anyone who has any questions or any comments that you want to make? All right, hearing none, I am ready to entertain a motion.
Yes, please.
All right, soon I make the motion. Thank you. All right. Anyone who want to second that?
I will second again, Stephen.
Thank you, Brett. All right, so we have a mover, we have a seconder for the motion. All right, Brett, can you please also launch an e-vote? Thank you. All right, so I think we are the same, assuming that Brett, you have cast a sort of
Yep.
positive vote. So we have a sort of a 6 in affirmative and 1 abstain. So it full meets the quota, and I think we can close this one. All right.
Thanks, Stephen. So let's proceed to the last one, which is R2 for the test data. So for R2 in the test data project, the scope is being extended from just AU Core to now supporting AU e-requesting and AU Patient Summary as well. And we also, because AU Core is going into R2, so we are extending our support of AU Core into R2 as well. And the other thing we have is similar to the AU Core, we review the joint copyright, and we decided that because of the code systems are external and have their licenses and governance requirements, so we are declaring a yes on the joint copyright as well. This is all from me.
Daniel, you have your hands up?
I do. A bit more on the scope of the second release. Obviously, there's some active projects within HL7 Australia, and this test data project isn't particularly AU Core focused, so it's going to go across any of the continued work in AU base from the submissions from the community and anything that needs to change to support AU Core or continue to add in on AU e-requesting and patient summary. It's not written there hard in the scope because it's not necessarily objective to meet, but there's also an additional tranche of Services Australia data that is coming in to provide an additional set of providers that people can use, which is quite nice. I mean, the first release had a set of providers that was very targeted, I guess, towards core and e-requesting. And this other set of providers gets a bit more, I think, into like the allied health space. So it just gives some more options for the community with data that connects into the HI test vendor space. And that's what I wanted to add.
All right, thank you, Danielle. So any other commentaries or questions before I entertain a motion? All right, hearing none, then I would like to invite a mover to motion. I would like to invite a motion on this PSS.
Yes, please.
All right, okay. We have, I just noted that we have a new participant, which is Andy, who has joined the call. Okay, so I have a motion on the table to accept this PSS. Anyone who would like to second that?
I can second again.
Thank you, Brett. All right, so we have a motion on the table. We have a second. All right, now our voting eligible voting member has increased by 1. All right, so Brett, can you please launch the e-vote? All right, the number is still a little bit less than last one. So do we have anyone else who want to vote? All right, okay, Brett, you are a +1, I assume. All right, so in that case, then we have six affirmative by 2 abstain. So we have a total number of 8. So motion carried. Thank you, everyone.
Yes,
All right.
everything from me today. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you. So with all the PSS out of the way, we are actually doing well with timing. We might even be able to finish early today. All right. All right. AU-based backlog review. Here is the link. So Brett, are you taking on this one?
Yeah, and I think we're kind of, with reconciliation coming to an end, we're kind of, I guess, looking ahead to what things to look at now, and also planning the next items, like planning out for what an R7 might look like and contain for AU base. So this was just a summary page put together to kind of show our backlog and what statuses things are in. So we have a few tickets that some haven't been triaged yet by the co-chairs. They're the first few, so they need to be looked at as new issues that have come through. We do have a bunch of triaged issues, and I kind of went through to try and put some kind of context for the issue, in terms of what is kind of required for them. So with those triaged issues, there's a number of items there that actually I think require discussion, and we'll have to actually talk about them in meeting and come to an answer. There are quite a lot of issues that are marked needs work, and generally speaking, that means that there's some ideas flagged in the issues, but there's no detailed draft or particular proposals for those. So really, we would need somebody to own that issue and really work up something to present to the group, to decide on, unless we want to take it into a more general discussion. So I think some of these probably need a call to decide, will they progress, and or is there other people that are interested in progressing them in detail. So that's a whole set of triaged issues that were either, some of these have been discussed in past meetings but put on the back burner as well, and so I think it's a time to look at which things we might bring back into play, and we do have a set of deferred issues that are actually from the previous ballot, where there's various ideas and things there covered that have been deferred. Some of them have been referred out kind of already to external work. So we have some items there on license and copyright, which has already been needs finalisation with some board input. We have a few things there that I kind of put in the conventions bucket, and we have already tried to put together a conventions working party to look at FHIR IG conventions approaches. That was put on hold through reconciliation, but it is something that we can look at starting up proper again, and that's really about common practices in IGs and publishing. Yeah, so again, we probably need people to kind of say that this is an important issue and we should go ahead with some of these, and just as a prioritization. And I created another one called Deferred New, where people are asking for essentially new profiles. So they probably need particular drafting or work done on them, and discussion to kind of set the frame of what we're going to look at and cover. Oh yeah, that last one we had marked waiting for input, and I wasn't quite sure of the status of that one. Yeah, so I guess it's what approach will we use to kind of select what we're going to look at. I guess co-chairs could have a go at selecting some of these. Some of these are kind of issues that I think we need to probably just look at. But some of these have been already pushed to a kind of deferred state or a kind of put on hold and as a backlog item. So I think we need to decide how we're going to bring things back into be active again and what criteria we're using for that. Danielle.
I thought to provide some context, if we look through the items, some of these match AU Core's backlog, and I suspect, and I might need to throw to Andy there, that some of these might also match the e-requesting backlog. So I think there's family member history that's down below on here for AU base, but that's also on the AU core backlog. And in particular, that's one of the things we're going to see in the Canberra workshop in November. There's 7 pitches that the community, members of the community are going to pitch to say, I think this needs to be an AU core R3. Family member history is one of them. So if that is something that someone really wants to do work on in AU core, then obviously there needs to also that might come into play there. So that community might happen. In terms of the rest of it, could you scroll up a bit? I'm just trying to pick out the other items. Yeah, keep going up. No, I guess there's no other new profiles in this list that are specifically flagged in the right now in AU Core R3, even though that's early days. So we might end up also submitting some items in from AU Core R3. I know there's a submission in for things like care plan, which would also involve things like goal and care team. There's also a submission in for what else is it in base? Hang on. No, I think that's all that's not yet in base. There's a couple of core things that already have a base, like medication administration and dispense. So that doesn't really, unless there's any core requested changes, that doesn't come into that level of work for the next release of base. So I guess I just wanted to provide some context on this backlog with where AU Core R3 is at least going to discuss what might be in scope.
Yeah, I think it's more, and I think that will obviously flow through, because if AU Core starts to move on some of this, we will probably be obliged to put a base version of some of these things in. But also I think it's like, I think the question is like, how do we decide and who needs to do what to get an issue back into
I don't know why that's
circulation.
complex. Isn't that always the same answer? The person who wants it, and you form a community and you do the work and you propose it. None of this has ever been a free conveyor belt of work.
So primarily whoever raised it is going to be responsible initially, and they probably need to work out how they would bring it to the group and prioritize that item.
Is
Yeah.
there anything there from e-requesting, I guess either Michael or Andy on this list that looks like it might be e-requesting match your backlog?
There was just the one from last week or last
Yeah.
FHIR Work Group that hasn't made it in the list. It was deferred as a consider future use.
This list hasn't got any of the ballot deferred items in it, I must say.
Okay.
So that's probably that's another source of things because they're more
I would
deferred
expect
items.
all of those to be on the list.
Yeah, as well. Yeah. Good point.
All right, so Brett, would we so I assume that this page will be edited to include those considerations?
Yeah, I think that I'll do that too because we can now, since we've done we'll have most of our tickets ready, so we'll take the deferred ones and put them on the list too. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
All right, anyone who has any comments and
I should comment on patient summary, I guess. So in terms of patient summary, I don't particularly think any of this is looking like the backlog of patient summary. I think patient summary so far is more interested in potentially revising existing profiles and bringing some of the more thorny questions like no next, that's going to be a joy, back to base. I do think that actually it's not on this list, but some of the future stuff across both core and patient summary is going to be things around how do we support information around implanted device information. I know there's an IPS profile, device use statement, as well as device in and of itself. I don't actually think that's going to be next release, but I don't think it's actually going to be that far away. I'm pretty sure that is going to be worked through in the next AU CDI release. So I think that's coming up. If it's not AU base R7, it's probably going to be AU base R8 that some work would like to be put into base around that. That's my comment on that.
Yeah. So
all right.
I guess, Stephen, then like what we're really probably saying is we need people that want these items to, I guess, push particular issues to the co-chairs of the FHIR Work Group to go forward and schedule discussion on them. And that means prepping to have some kind of proposal attached to it, unless you kind of need broader discussion. Danielle.
I mean, if we're planning for what to do next, I think that at least either doing what we did last time or a variant of it is appropriate, on where there is a meeting called and that's advertised really clearly in terms of like scoping and calling for community interest, so that people can advertise what they think is necessary, whether it's currently in a JIRA or not, and what they would be willing to undertake. I think we should have at least one call to understand the priorities next year.
Yeah, I think that's good because that kind of lets us have a decision-making event, and then we can kind of set some things that we know will get looked at going forward.
All right, sounds good. We will progress that. In the meanwhile, this list is included in the meeting agenda and will also be included in the meeting minutes, so folks can peruse them and get ready for the calls, and I will schedule some calls to discuss them, unless there is sort of folks who want to indicate in terms of priorities in their organizations or in the Australian landscape, that they should consider those as high priority, and then they would like to indicate how to progress that. So I think that can be considered too. All right, anything else that we want to discuss about this issue list and also backlog list?
Yeah, I guess my only other question is when would that happen? It's obviously getting towards end of reconciliation, and
My
and
suggestion
yeah,
or my
into
thought
events.
is that once we close all the reconciliation matters, then we can then start to review them and also prioritize them and put together a schedule or a timetable to discuss
Yeah.
them, and then we can then go through that.
Can I suggest, because I think we can advertise this quite clearly in advance. I've popped the link to the calendar, although you can get to it, Stephen, if you just click calendar up on the top left. I would suggest that we advertise. So so left bar, like
here.
the bar.
Yep.
Yeah, that one.
Yep.
So there's a number of governance things to support the various specifications going through their maturity models and their ballot cycles and all the rest of that. That going into next year, in terms of the meetings we're going to have in January, I think you got to hit that twice. We're forecast to come back on the 14th of January. And I would suggest, I guess we need to ask on how many scoping meetings and calls for community interest are we going to do? Is it enough to do it in January, or is January too early compared to shutdown and it needs to have a Feb meeting?
Yeah, I would say that we need to consider the January shutdown period where we probably would lost 2 weeks, and then there is a week of HL7 International Work Group virtual meeting. So we would probably, I mean, at least for me, we lost that week as well. So that leaves only about a week. Sort of
Go into
in,
Feb then. When's our
Go into
first
Feb,
call
yeah.
in Feb? Because if we could just
Yeah.
anoint this one as the scoping call, then we can advertise that well in advance and let people know about this, and even like mention it at the December Connectathon or something so that people are aware.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I think that's
11th
good.
of Feb.
Yep, looks like it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like, that gives plenty of people time to think about it and get themselves together.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Okay. All right. R7 scoping conversation.
Similarly, I think because obviously some of those backlog issues are part of R7. So yeah, that will form part of the plan. But I think too, as well, I think there's a number of things people have kind of raised that would need new tickets, right? We would need people to come through with any other things that are priorities and add to our issues list that they can get considered as well. So I think it's more like getting a call out, and part of it, since we know we're kind of going to go through this through till February, to get people to raise tickets specifically for things that they consider they would like in R7, and where they're not already there. Okay, so yeah, I think that would be probably more communication, I guess, to let people know that that's our timeline and there's an opportunity there.
All right, sounds good. That leads us to any other business before we sort of look at next meetings and action items.
I know I originally forecast talking about patient summary, but I think I kind of already did in the
Okay.
in the backlog. I guess we'll end up raising a number of JIRAs for consideration for adoption, or working through and putting in particular pieces of advice in a base out of what is happening in patient summary. Some of those will also suggest changes to value sets. This is in particular on the meds resources, I think. And there's a number of other clarifications that might come out of this. The majority of those are still kind of in progress with international, and then we'd look to, I guess, try to make an agreement at a base level and see where we get on that. So there will be some JIRAs coming, and it's understood that that is the next release of base, and that would, whatever that needs to happen, it wouldn't be published at the same time as AU Patient Summary, because AU Patient Summary is going to publish at the end of June, beginning of July. and that's off cycle from base. I'm not expecting us to need any updates to base or core to support that, but I suppose we, in our project, if we needed something, would try to enact a process of requesting an out of cycle kind of release. But I don't expect us to need to enact that. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say there.
Sounds good. Anyone has any questions for Danielle? All right, if not, then let's move to the last agenda item. I kind of look at forward planning in terms of meeting schedules, and then the next meeting will be on the November the 19th, and we have a kind of skeleton meeting agenda up here. And if you want to sort of click on that link, and you can get to that. All right, so unless, Brett, do you want me to go into that to see whether or not there are any items that you want to sort of highlight for members' attention before we come to the next meeting?
We should
I think-
confirm. We
yeah.
are, I think Michael Wilson, you confirmed, yep, that if you can click on that, yep,
Yeah.
that we've got those request
Those
items. Is
final
that you
ones,
speaking
yeah.
to these, Michael Wilson, at the next?
Yeah, so I'll give an update on what we determined for e-request and TDG tomorrow, and what that means for those particular issues.
Can I request, Michael, that you either send a summary, maybe send a summary to the FHIR Work Group co-chairs email?
Yep.
Just
Yep.
something, yeah,
Happy-
just something
happy
to
to do that.
summarize
Yeah,
what the
I'm happy to do that.
what the
Yeah.
where you landed.
And
then
I
we
assume, Brett,
we'll
you
talk about
are
it
at
on
the-
Monday.
You are.
Yeah, I'll
TDG
turn
tomorrow.
up anyway. Yep. That's true. I could
All
tell
right.
them.
All good. Then, yep. Sorry.
Cool. Oh, the only other thing is, yeah, that will be a pre-connectathon. Actually, we've got another one after that.
I think
So maybe we won't.
No, I think there's another one before the
yeah.
connectathon. Yep.
Yeah, so we might drop that
Yeah.
item. Yep. Cool.
Right. Okay. All right. Then any outstanding action item that we need to table?
Oh, I'll just note from the last call, I think there was an action on Ruben to do a PR, and he has completed that. So we'll mark
Okay.
that as done.
All
Yeah.
right. So there's no more outstanding action item on that. Okay, cool. All right. And with that, I think we have very effectively and efficiently went through all the agenda items with almost 20 minutes to spare, or with 20 minutes to spare. So are there any burning questions or agenda items that people want to add and raise for discussion so that we can spend a bit more time on it if necessary. Otherwise, I can entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. All right, not hearing anything.
I'm happy to motion to adjourn.
Yeah, so and all right, good. So we adjourn the meeting at 12:05 Eastern Daylight Saving Time and 11:05 Eastern Standard Time.
That might be a record, Stephen. Well
It might well be. All right, so we can stop recording, Brett, if we can,
thanks.
please. So I have a couple of co-chairs admin type of thing that I want to discuss with the co